Hello, I'm Ann Gritch, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this segment of the oral history of the Diocese of San Jose. And with me today is Deacon Sylvanus Offorjebe, known as Sonny, and he will explain to you why he has the name Sonny. He has been in our diocese for a very long time and is very active not only in the whole diocese but with the Igbo community at St. Francis of Assisi. So welcome, Sonny. It's good to have you here.
Thank you so much. This is a privilege for me to be here.
Well, it's wonderful for us as well. So let's get right to it. Tell us about your background. You were born in Nigeria?
Yes, I have a very humble beginning, but guided by God's grace, for which I'm very, very grateful to God. I was born in Nigeria to poor parents of subsistent farmer dad. And when I say subsistence, that means just enough to get by.
Mm-hmm. But
and
nothing extra.
Nothing extra. My mother was a relatively average local businesswoman. Both of them practiced what we call African religion. When the missionaries came, they actually called them pagans. But when I learned, they were not pagans. They knew God, but it was an African God that they worship. But they were not Christians. So by God's grace and plan, actually, I was the only child that was baptized in the Catholic faith.
How did that happen?
Well, my parents, although they were not Christians, my dad had an uncle that was a catechist of the Anglican Church. My mom has a brother that was a choir master in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So my dad was more inclined to the Anglican Church and baptized my siblings there. And when I was born, my mom, with my godparents that she found, decided to baptize me in the Catholic Church when I was about 2 months old. So it was, now some people call me an accidental Catholic. And I say, you know what, you can do that, but as far as God is concerned, it wasn't accidental.
There's no accidents.
He has a plan for me in the Catholic Church. And as we go further, I will explain more why I thought and I think God has a plan for me in the Catholic Church. After my elementary school, at St. Peter's Elementary School, which was an Irish-formed elementary school, I applied and got accepted into the junior seminary called All Hallows Junior Seminary.
And this is still in Nigeria?
This is still in Nigeria. And of course, coming from high school, elementary school, we were very young.
Yes.
I'm not even sure if I knew what priesthood was. But I was attracted to it. So I applied and got accepted. And I completed my high school there. And after my high school, I don't know why, but the director of the seminary called me in and said, "Sylvanus, you're going to teach in the seminary?" And I said, "Me? I don't know anything." She said, "Yes, you do. We need you there to go and teach some science classes to the 9th grade level junior seminarians. So when people finish high school, they join the junior seminary in the first year, which is equivalent to high school, first year in high school." So he sent me there. And of course, it was an honor. I would have liked to go to the senior seminary, but since the director has said that I should go, so I went. So I went there, and after a few months, he made me the auxiliary of the seminary.
Oh, my.
What we call auxiliary there is that people that assist the director in the formation of seminarians.
Okay. All right.
So I enjoyed the place, and I got along with the kids, and my age was not too far from them. So it worked out very well. Then at the end of the one academic year, I was only for 1 year. So the director called me again and said, "You're going to the senior seminary."
Well, that's what you wanted.
That's what I wanted. And I said, okay. So I got myself ready, and I moved into another city to a senior seminary called the Bigard Memorial Seminary in another city. And there I started my philosophy. Okay, and we usually do 3 years of philosophy, and then after 3 years we go into 4 years of theology.
Yeah.
But I didn't finish. I wasn't I just finished the second year philosophy, and I had to leave. And it's a sad story because when I start talking about it, I get emotional. And I don't want to get emotional now.
Okay, but we know that you left.
Yes, I left. And I left because of financial problem.
Okay.
Because my uncle that was supporting me left for the United States. And of course, my dad, who is not a Catholic and who was not a Christian, was not amused about my trying to become a priest.
Of course not.
So he did everything to make sure it didn't happen. At some point when I knew I could not continue, then I left and found myself in the United States.
All right.
So, but throughout all that, I have always one slogan and I have one line I have always kept throughout my time there in the seminary was, Lord, that I may see. I wrote it in all my books. And I took it from Luke 18. Lord, that I may see. What plan do you have for me? And so I left and came to the United States. And that is how I was able to come to the United States. I lived with my uncle at that time. And
now, did you come directly to the West Coast?
No, I went to Oregon, and that's where my uncle was. I stayed with him. And I continued to search and ask myself, what does God want from you? What does God want you to do? And so that's kind of a summary of how I was raised and how I ended up in the United States.
Now, how did you come to the Diocese of San Jose?
Well, I came to the Diocese of San Jose because for my quest for graduate school. When I finished in Oregon, I wanted to go into graduate school, and they had good graduate schools here, and I applied and I was accepted, and so I would say that it was the graduate school and the good job and that I forgot as a chemist. I was going to school and I was also a chemist in a company just down the street here. It was at that time that by God's providence that I discovered the Diocese of San Jose.
All right. Now, what year would that have been?
It was in 1981.
All right, when we became a diocese.
Yes, and I came in as a student, and at some point throughout the time I left and came my undergraduate work, I was really, at some point I got really discouraged, especially in 1980 when my classmates in Nigeria were ordained. They sent me invitations and all that. I have to be honest with you, I was very, very, very discouraged.
Sure.
And at some point, I have to be honest with you, I said, God doesn't love me.
We've all gone through that, Sonny.
So at some point, I stopped being involved in the church.
You'll show
I would
God.
just spend all my time at work and all that. But then one time I was driving by, I saw the statue of Our Lady on 101.
At Our Lady of Peace.
Yes. And I said, Sonny, you can run, but you can't hide. You need to go in there.
Okay.
So I went in there, and the Blessed Sacrament was exposed. And I just knelt and cried. After that, and I said, I need to come back. And the traditional way of Mass and all that brought back my experience in the seminary. So I started going back there and registered, became a member of the parish, was involved. And to fast forward, all my kids were baptized there.
Now, how did you meet your wife? Was it here or in Nigeria?
It's a long story. It was in Nigeria. Actually, to be quite honest, I worked for my wife's dad. In the senior seminary, after the end of the school year, you get assigned to a parish. And I was assigned to their parish, and my wife's dad was a catechist.
All right.
So I worked for him.
Him.
Sabina at that time was in the convent.
Aha.
And I met her during the holiday, and I left. After that, we never connected again because of the seminary aspirant, and we didn't connect anymore. Then when I left, I came here, I was writing the dad. 4 years after, the dad wrote me a letter, says Sabina left the convent.
Aha.
And then we started writing.
That's wonderful.
So that's how we met. And it has been so wonderful for me because I couldn't have been where I am today without her, because she knew and understood me. So at the Diocese of San Jose, I learned I was brought in there through Our Lady of Peace. But more especially, at some point when I moved to Evergreen, San Jose, they said there was a new parish being started. So we went there, and believe me, it was Monsignor John Sandefeld.
Yep.
And I listened to his homily, and I said, I am coming here. And so we transferred from Our Lady of Peace to that place when St. Francis of Assisi was still a dirt area, and we were saying, it was saying Mass in the Grange.
Exactly.
And all that. So that's when I joined there. And that is where my interest, Monsignor John Sandefeld really continued to draw me closer and closer. And he had a way of doing it. I didn't know what he was doing, but he had a way of doing it. He continued to draw me closer and closer. And I remember one time he took me to a retreat, the Jesuit retreat in up in Los Altos. And that's when I said, you know, Sonny, you have arrived again.
Many arrivals, huh?
Yes.
Now tell me about the Igbo community. Now, were you one of the first then? How did that all come about? Because it's a vibrant community.
Well, I think the Igbo community is a God's plan. And I've always believed that when I say, Lord, that I may see, God had a plan for me. He wanted me to help to grow the Igbo community.
So it was there?
It wasn't there.
It was not there?
No.
Okay.
The Igbo community actually grew out of San Francisco. We had the Igbo community, which I was a co-founder, which started actually on December 25th, 1998.
Okay.
So we got together with the priest called Father Charles. He's still there. And we said, let's do the Mass in our language, celebrate the Christmas and all that. And from there, that Igbo community started. It continued to grow. But I tried to recruit people from here to go to Mass in San Francisco to experience our cultural way of doing Mass and all that. But it was too difficult because it was far.
It is, yeah.
So I said, well, maybe we can start something close here. So I approached Monsignor John Sandefeld again and said, you know what, this Igbo community in San Francisco, maybe we should start it here. And I checked with Father Charles, and they said, Sonny, go ahead if you can get something started here. So with the support of Monsignor, that we are very close, one time I took Monsignor to an event where we had an Igbo Mass. And on our way back, he said, I want this in my parish.
I can just hear him. I can just hear him
So
say
I came back, and I started talking to people, making phone calls of people, and said, we can start something here. And he was so nice. He gave us the place, say, you guys can start doing Mass at 12:30 for once a month. Of course, that time we didn't have any Igbo priest in the Diocese of San Jose. So we started with about 10 families. We were started with doing songs in people's homes, teaching our children songs in Igbo. And then we moved in and started our first Mass with a priest from Fresno.
All right.
And his name is Father Anthony. And then he comes once a month. And in any month that he's not able to come, I've gotten a priest all the way from Los Angeles.
Oh, my goodness.
They take a bus, a Greyhound bus, on Saturday evening, land in the morning, pick him up. He has breakfast in my house. We go to Mass. After Mass, he gets into Greyhound again, and goes back. So we were doing this, and the community continued to grow. We continued to pray. It was like a mustard seed. And then things continued. At some point, as we got bigger, one of the priests in San Francisco that was there decided to join us.
All right.
Father Nyanwachi, okay, that's his name. And so he was doing our chaplaincy out from San Francisco, but it was only when he has time.
Sure.
So we continued to grow. Gradually, people started coming in and joining it. And then in 2005, that was when, exactly June 12th, 2005, 2 years after we have tried to build a community, that was when the bishop, that was when the community was inaugurated.
All right.
On actually on Sunday, June 12th, 2005. And then after it was inaugurated, joined by people from San Francisco, from Hayward, because Oakland Diocese has already started as well. So they joined us, we started building the community. And that's how it actually became a reality that the Igbo community started there.
That is wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. Because, you know, Bishop McGraw loves to use the image of mosaic, right, when he talks about our diocese. And the Igbo community is definitely a part of that mosaic. Can you tell us about some of the activities, some of maybe the hopes for the community, some of the challenges?
Well, you know, like I said, it is a privilege and honor for me that this is happening. Our goal was actually to build a community of common faith in Jesus Christ, to address the spiritual needs of the people of the Igbo descent and language from Nigeria through cultural and religious celebrations. We wanted to share our rich and religious Nigeria Igbo culture with the rest of the parish of St. Francis of Assisi and the entire Diocese of San Jose. We believe that the cultural activities, such as participation in multicultural liturgies and other cultural and traditional exchanges with the parish and the diocese, will be mutually beneficial.
Well, there have been times, excuse me for interrupting you, but I can remember when the Igbo choir has been at the cathedral, or your beautiful women in those gorgeous clothes bringing up the gifts. I mean, you have succeeded in terms of introducing the diocese to the culture.
It was a great privilege and God's work that happened. I will thank actually Monsignor John Senefel, who welcomed us.
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, the community actually continues to strive to transfer its cultural and religious richness of our culture to our children, to the spiritual nurture of them to reach their full potential in all areas of life and become strong moral and compassionate leaders in the society.
Tell me, often this happens, the second generation becomes kind of Americanized. So I think it's very wise that you are keeping the traditions alive and educating the next generation.
And you know what? I have, it was one of the things with the goals we had, because we know that these kids are not going back to Nigeria. And we know that our culture, the Igbo culture, is embedded in religion. Believe it or not, about 80% of Igbo names has God embedded in it. Offorjebe has God embedded in it. All my kids' name, there's God embedded in every Igbo name, most of them. So we thought that these kids, we don't want them to lose that.
No.
So we were thinking about them more when this community started. We wanted to go there, have the people that came here to be able to practice the Catholic faith in our own language, in our own culture, but also we were thinking about these kids. And I know you asked me earlier about what are the things we do. We couldn't have been able to do any of these things if it wasn't for the kindness of our bishop. I think we are very fortunate.
We are.
Actually, it was on June 8, 2008, that Bishop PJ Mokra, made a first pastoral visit to our community.
Ah,
And that was what actually gave us the opportunity and the what I would call the hope that community is going to continue to grow, and it has arrived that it will be here.
and that it's part of the diocese.
And it's a part of the diocese. So for that, I am very grateful. The community is very grateful. There are so many activities that we do, and more than we would like to do. First of all, we do our monthly mass, 12:30 at St. Francis of Assisi. Every year, we do annual Catholic weekend retreats for the adults, for youths, and young adults. We have been doing this for the past 6 years.
Wonderful.
We also do Corpus Christi celebration with a mass and procession with the Eucharist.
Lovely.
Let me tell you something that happened, emotional thing. The first time we did it about 5 years ago, we did the procession, the Nigerians, everybody, because it's a big thing in Nigeria. It's huge. The whole entire diocese comes to the diocese, and the mass is celebrated in the field. And then the Eucharistic procession takes about 3 to 4 hours
Oh my.
around the city. So when we did this, at the end here, we did a very small one around the compound of St. Francis with the Eucharist and the flower girls and boys and girls now throwing flower and the incense.
Lovely.
At the end, we did the benediction. When we finished, one of the Igbo community people said, "Sonny, come here, I want to talk to you." And I came out and said, "What?" He said, "You're not going to like what I'm going to tell you, but I'm glad you didn't become a priest."
Oh.
And I said, "Why?" He said, "If you did, you would be in Nigeria and you won't be here. I won't be able." He said, "This is 30 years ago was the last time I had Corpus Christi.
Oh my.
And I can't believe I'm doing Corpus Christi here.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And thank you for making this happen." So that's one of the things we do. We do Nigerian Christian wakekeeping, funeral, vigil. Why is this? Because a lot of our family members, people here, the Nigerians, their families are in Nigeria.
Sure.
And they die. Some of them may not be able to go. Some of them, by the time they get there, the person has been buried.
It's too late.
It's too late. So, in fact, we have like 2 family members that just lost. One lost their mother, or her mother, another one lost the dad. So we come together. What we do is that we do a prayer service, and we come together, do the whole vigil prayer without the body, you know, the corpse. We do the entire prayer. We console them. We mourn with them.
That's wonderful.
And we do that. In fact, I do that so many times. It takes me even to Sacramento.
Oh my.
Sometimes. As a matter of fact, some non-Catholics have joined the Igbo community because of that. Because they felt that somebody is sharing their grief
And understands.
and understand. So they are Christians, and then they call me, and then I give them. We do a prayer service for the deceased and help them to mourn. So it was it's an important thing that we still offer to the community. And we also do. When kids receive their communion the first time, we make them be the people to do they do the flowers at the Corpus Christi.
Okay.
They dress in white and all that.
This is a big honor.
And they look forward to it.
Sure.
Some of them say, "I want to receive communion because I want to do that thing." So we do that. Then we do during Lent. We do Stations of the Cross. We take like two times during the Lenten period for the Igbo community to lead the Stations of the Cross
For the whole parish.
For the whole parish.
That's wonderful.
So and of course we also on Christmas time days. We do on Christmas Sunday, the Igbo community coordinates one of the masses, the 12:30 mass for the Christmas. We do all the readings and all the things that are surrounding the mass, the music and all that. And we also go do charitable work. Once a year, we go to annual charitable work at the Sacred Heart. We go
downtown.
Yes, we go do that. So there's a lot of things that
You
we
do a lot. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, it is a gift.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you, just to change gears a little bit here. You graduated from the Institute for Leadership and Ministry.
Yes.
How was that experience?
It was a wonderful experience. It's actually at that ILM that I rediscovered my vocation. And of course, you know, you were the first person that actually introduced me to that, and I'm very grateful. I want to thank you for that.
Well, I'm so glad you were there, but go ahead.
And you know how the way things work, you know, I know I started it because of family responsibilities, my work. I didn't continue the first time, and I left. And then God did not give up on me. And then I had the opportunity to come back.
And that's so good to be able to do that. And under a new director.
Yes. But I will never forget the role you played in that.
Thank you.
And Monsignor John Sennefeld again was the one that really encouraged me to do that.
Oh, he was always so supportive of ILM, and still is.
And so it was a very great experience for me, and I learned a lot. It got me exposed back again into the church closer, and there actually, like I said, I discerned that I'm going to go again to pursue the diaconate.
And of course, we had started the diaconate not too much earlier.
Yes.
So the timing was wonderful.
Yes.
So, you, what were some of the joys and challenges in diaconate formation?
Well, you know, I strongly believe that I was called since my birth. Otherwise, I asked myself, why did my parents pick me
to be a Catholic?
To be a Catholic. I still continue to ask that question, and God keeps saying, your ways are not my ways. He knows why. So it was a great experience for me.
A lot of time consuming, though.
When I discerned to go into the program and got accepted, there was one line that I kept telling myself, and I borrowed that line from St. Augustine of Hippo. You have created us for yourself, O Lord. You've made us for yourself.
In our hearts.
And our spirit will not rest
until it
rests in you.
Yeah. And he was an African bishop.
Yes. Whenever I try to get challenges that make me to drop out, I remember that. That God has a plan for me. Throughout the time before I got into the diaconate, I was haunted by the spirit that I didn't finish my calling.
That was the restless part. Huh?
That was, and let me be honest with you, my kids were worried about it. My wife knew about it. They were all worried. When this opportunity came, and I decided to discern that I'm going to pursue this, I had peace. But it was peace that had a lot of challenges. When I was in the program, I was working for one of the major companies in the Bay Area. And my job was 75% travel. I remember coming to Santa Clara University and talking to the dean and the person in charge of the Deacon formation. And I was saying, how can I do classes over the phone, on TV? And he said, we don't have those programs anymore. And I explained them my travel schedule. And they told me, she looked at me and said, how are you going to do this? But it was a big challenge. I was traveling in Europe, in Asia, sometimes in the United States. And let me give you one example about time and my job and that program. One time I left Switzerland, I left the United States on a Saturday to go to Switzerland for work. I arrived there, started work on Monday through Wednesday. I had a class on Thursday in the United States. I finished my work on Wednesday, got in the flight at 11 o'clock in Switzerland, landed in San Francisco at 4:30 in the evening. Took a quick ride to Santa Clara. I attended a class at 6 o'clock p.m.
You are amazing.
And when the class was over at 9, I didn't go home. I called Sabina. I sent the limo that brought me into the classroom, go home, pack my clothes, change my clothes.
Oh, no.
Sabina changed my bag and everything. I went into the shower at the university, took shower, changed my clothes, come back to the airport, flew all night to North Carolina for work.
It's amazing.
When I think back now, I don't know where I got the energy.
I don't know where you'd, well, obviously.
But when people ask me that, I said, in humility, I could do that by He who strengthened me, Jesus Christ, St. Paul. And whenever things got so hard for me throughout that program, I remember that.
Well, it is amazing. It is amazing.
So the biggest challenge I had was managing my time with the classes.
Yeah.
And of course, the Saturday classes, the Santa Clara class, the Saturday class.
And the Saturday classes also involved Sabina.
Yes.
And she had a very active life.
And of course, the Igbo community. I still had to minister and support them.
It's amazing. It is amazing. But it happened, and you were ordained 2016.
It was 2016. Yes. And that's why I said when I walked in here, when God makes promise, He does not fail.
This is very, very true. So tell us a little bit about your ministry as a deacon here in the diocese. It's mostly, I know, with the Igbo community, but we also, I am sure, call on you to serve the bishop in other events.
It is one of the most exciting things in my life, really. I am assigned to St. Francis of Assisi, and I'm very fortunate and lucky to have great people around. I don't want to mention them because everybody there is great, but I can't fail to mention Monsignor Jean
O'Donnell.
Yeah. And he's a father. Has such a father image, and he's so understanding. And so I am enjoying my diaconate work there. I'm enjoying also assigned to the Igbo community. I'm enjoying working for the Igbo community. And of course, when I get an opportunity and a privilege to serve the bishop, I take it. The last one was when he said mass at Stanford Hospital.
Yes.
And one of the deacons, the priest, it was a Ghanaian priest, called me and said, Deacon Sani, I want you to come because he's actually a chaplain at Notre Dame.
Oh, okay.
So he's connected to the Stanford University Hospital. So they asked me to come to assist the bishop, and I was so excited. So I went. So I do that. And of course, like some of the activities that around the social justice activities around,
which is very diaconal.
I get very involved in those social justice activities. So between the liturgical functions, the social justice activities within the Igbo communities, outside the Igbo community, I'm very fulfilled.
It's wonderful. That is wonderful. How has that impacted your family life?
You know,
we worry always with deacons.
God has a way of doing things. I couldn't have done this both in the program, but now without Sabina.
I believe that.
Okay. I don't even know where to start. Because many times I talk to her, I say, look, how do you feel? Do you feel I'm being away from you? And he comes back and says, I knew what you were going into. You have a calling, and I will support you in all those callings. I have to tell you, she has given up a lot.
Most wives of deacons
very honestly and happily. You know, I'll give you an example. We have a lot of events, Igbo events, Igbo community events, and all that. And I'm supposed to preside, either in a vigil, in a wakekeeping, or something that they want me to preside for them, to pray for them, or graduation.
Sure.
And I look at the time, and she tells me, I think you should go. And I said, but I want to drive with you. He said, no, I think you should go. It's not too far. I'll drive myself. I don't want you to be late.
Ah, that's wonderful. You're a lucky man.
So she is so supportive. And my kids are even more supportive. Do you know, on my ordination, my son cried. He told me he cried throughout the time.
Oh, dear.
And when we came home, he told me, Daddy, I am so happy that you were able to answer this call. And we're going to do everything we can to support you.
You are a very fortunate man.
So as far as that is concerned, it has brought the family together.
That's wonderful.
My son, the youngest one now, he calls me, finds out how is my diaconate. He calls me and say, hello, Deacon, how's Deacon work going?
I love it.
But let me, I don't know if I should say this, but I say it because I'm not attributing it to me, but I'm attributing it to God. I don't know where he's leading him. Last couple of months ago, he called me and said, guess what, Dad? I'm going to go to a discernment retreat at St. Patrick. And I said, for what? He said, why? You don't want me to go? I said, I have nothing to do with this. If that's what you want to go, just go there. But don't tell anybody I even know about it. He said, Daddy, you found your calling. Can't you let me try to find my own calling?
Ooh.
And I said, I'm not discouraging you. If you want to go do it's called the discernment retreat. So he's very close to the church. This my ordination and my job as a deacon has actually brought the family even closer.
That's wonderful. Now, what do you see, or what are your hopes for the future of the Igbo community?
You know, I am looking forward to praying to God that the mustard seed that has been sown will continue to grow. I like to see this community continue to blossom, to grow, to draw in more of our kids, the first generation Americans, so that they can embed themselves into the Catholic Church
And the culture.
And the culture.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to our continuing to grow and continue to share our cultural values, our cultural heritage with the parish, to give more to the parish than to the diocese than receive from the diocese. Because we have a rich culture.
Yes, you do.
We have a rich culture. And the kids that that are being born here now, I like them to continue to grow, and if the ones that are going to stay in the diocese, to be able to understand that they have gotten a very good background in the Catholic faith, in the Christian faith, be a contributing members, not only for the society of the Santa Clara County, but also for this diocese. I'm looking forward for the diocese to be able to benefit from the contributions we're going to make.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because it's part of the mosaic.
Exactly. And I can see those things already happening in some of our kids.
Wonderful.
Okay. And I'm looking forward to that continuing to go. We had a youth and young adult retreat this year in June at the Holy Redeemer Retreat Center. And these kids were there. They were vibrant. They were.
Oh, wonderful.
In fact, one of them was telling me that is there a program that they can take that will help them to be leaders in the diocese. And I'm looking into it now, leadership program for these kids.
You might think about the ILM.
It's one of those. And I told them I'm going to look into it. They basically come and said, is there any way we can get involved in the diocese?
That's wonderful.
These are the kind of things we're hoping that will start to happen.
What do you do about language? Are you teaching the kids Igbo?
Well, that is the part we have been failing. I have to be very honest.
Well, it's most of the ethnic communities have that same issue.
Now we started it for a while, and then because of the parents are too busy. But it's one of those things that we're not doing very well, we want to start doing. And one of the ways we want to start it is that right now I'm putting together a catechism class. And what we plan to do in that catechism class, I talked to Monsignor Gene and he's okay with it, is to start with prayers. All the common prayers, the Hail Mary, the Our Father, we start teaching them that in Igbo. Okay? They can recite it in English, they can recite it in Igbo, they can sing Igbo songs. And when that in that environment, we will be start introducing the languages. Because believe me, a lot of when the Irish people who brought religion to us, most of the people back home that started education was through catechism and reading of the Bible, translated for them into Igbo. Catechism can be a very good forum to introduce a child into a new language. Because if I teach them Hail Mary in English and teach them Igbo, I will explain the Igbo Hail Mary to them, and they will understand what they're saying. With there, we can teach them other things in our language.
Sounds like a plan.
So I'm putting that program together. Father James has reviewed it. I'm working with Lisa at St. Francis of Assisi now, trying to, finalize it, make it be a part of the parish, because we're not a parish.
No, you are part of St. Francis.
We're St. Francis. So that's why I'm working with them to be able to give us that, have a way where we can really link what they're doing to what we're going to be doing and still be very connected with them. When we finish that, after finishing the prayers, we can also look into the First Communion, the sacraments, and through those, we're teaching them those in English and Igbo. What is the sacrament? We explain that in English, we teach it to them in Igbo. And gradually, they will start to be proud of that language. And down the road, they will be able to, because culture, a lot of culture is also embedded in language.
Sure.
There's a lot of our language that the only time you can explain the culture is through the language itself. So that's where we are now. To circle back, it is an area that we are lacking, but I'm putting a program together to be able to make that happen.
Sounds wonderful. I was also thinking about, now you are a little over a year ordained as a deacon. The deacon community represents a lot of the mosaic.
Yes.
Do you have a chance to kind of talk with one another?
Yes, to be honest with you, the class of 2016 were very close.
Wonderful.
I don't know if they will, I hope they allow me to say this, but since our ordination, we have been meeting quarterly.
Terrific.
We meet in people's house. It was rare that I hosted it way back, and then I hosted it just in October, early October. I hosted it in my house. So when we come together, we share our experiences, we discuss our challenges, we laugh, and the wives get to meet and talk and all that. We just tabula rasa, blank slate. We just talk about it, our experiences, and share certain things we have experienced individually in the ministry, both in social justice and the liturgy, and we are very close.
That's wonderful.
And I know the Deacon community also, I think it was also a couple of months ago, we met at St. Lucie. So the Deacon community is actually, they do things together. And I try not to miss any of them.
That's grand. So anything else we should be talking about? This has been such a rich conversation.
Well, I just hope I'm able to really present some of these questions in such a way, and if there's any of them that I miss, you want me to come back to talk about, I'll be willing to talk about it. All the questions that I put is the Igbo community people have asked me, why is the Igbo community seem to be very religious group of people? And I mentioned this earlier, that is all embedded in our culture. And the Igbo community They always, any place they go, they want to make sure that they leave a good impression. They want sure they make sure that they present themselves well. They make sure they're successful. They make sure that their kids are successful. They make sure they want to be a part of the community. So we brought all that into the Diocese of San Jose.
Yes.
Some of the challenges we're facing now is that, especially at St. Francis of Assisi, is that the members of the Igbo community are from different parishes.
That's hard.
Okay. And they come to St. Francis of Assisi only once a month for Mass.
Right.
St. Francis of Assisi would like us to be more involved in events.
Parish events.
Parish events, which is natural.
Sure.
So,
but other parishes probably want them involved
but
also.
the challenge there is that they are very involved in their own parish.
Sure.
And Monsignor Jean understands that. That's why I tell you, he's such a father image. And I try to bring these people to do like when we had St. Francis Feast and this and that. And he says, remember, they have their own parish.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're from different parishes, sometimes the things we would like to do as a community at St. Francis, sometimes we don't have the chance to do that.
Sure.
But we still do the much we can.
Oh, and you do a lot. You do a lot.
And sometimes when we have a very big event, like we have our bazaar, we just had our bazaar, where people from the whole entire Bay Area come. The place is so big, and the facility at St. Francis may not be big enough for us. Some of those are some of the challenges. I would say some of the challenges is our exploding number of people, or how do you put it, exploding population. We're getting bigger and bigger. But that is good.
That is good.
So, I wanted to give kind of a summary chronology of the founding of Igbo Catholic community. It was a really joint effort by God's grace and the support and the mentoring of Monsignor John Sandefeld. My humble self sowed the seed at St. Francis of Assisi over 13 years ago. Because of the pastoral care and cultural inclusiveness of our dear Bishop P.J. McGrath, he made it possible for the seed to germinate by accepting us as an ethnic ministry in the Diocese of San Jose. The growth of this mustard seed was nurtured and nourished by both clergy and lay leaders over the years. I'd like to start by thanking my wife, Sabina, who many times when I was discouraged because sometimes it was very difficult to get priests, she continued to encourage me that, Sonny, remember, the Lord said, whom shall I send? And you said, here I am, Lord, send me. So she encouraged me to continue to stay on. I'd like to thank our visiting priests like Father Anthony, who drove from Fresno, and Father Bede, who took a Greyhound bus overnight from Los Angeles to say Mass for us. I'd like to thank Father Edward Inyanwachi from San Francisco Archdiocese, who became our first chaplain. Thanks to Monsignor Jean O'Donnell, who became the pastor of St. Francis of Assisi after Monsignor John Sandefeld, and supported and continues to support our community today. Thanks to Chief Adolfo Obilo, our community first chairman. Thanks to Father James Okar for our second chaplain since 2007, who gave us hope after we lost our first chaplain. And he came just 1 month after Father Nyawachi was not able to be our chaplain anymore. I'd like to thank Chief Eden Ogamba, our current chairman. Thanks our Christian mothers and Christian fathers, organized groups who help in planning activities for this great community. Thanks our youths and young adults who give us hope for the future. Finally, and above all thanks to the Almighty God, whose grace, love and kindness and protection has sustained us these years. God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. After my ordination on May 14, 2016, I was assigned to the diaconal ministry as coordinator for African Catholic community with the liturgical assignment at St. Francis of Assisi, San Jose. Father James Oka, from Monsignor Jean O'Donnell are my supervisors today. The ministry has been very rewarding and fulfilling. The people of God whom I serve welcome me with open arms, providing moral and material support. One of the members of the Igbo Catholic community donated $2,500 in support of my ministry, which I used this year to support youth and young adult retreat on June this year.
Well, thank you so much. You have just been a real gift, and I'm so grateful to you, and thank you for being here. You've really added to our history of the Diocese of San Jose, so thank you.
Thank you so much. I said it's an honor, it's a privilege. I am very, very grateful to God. I never knew that I would ever be able to have the opportunity to be doing this. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say, you have created us for yourself, O Lord. Our spirit will not rest until it rests in you.
Amen.
Amen.